of the Manchester INC Select Board to order at 5:17. Jeff,
Yes.
Kathy. Okay,
Here,
Brian,
Yes.
Ann's here, John.
Don is here.
Okay. There's no, is there comment from anyone? Not on items not on the agenda. Is there anyone online?
Really good. Two others online.
Okay. They do not have comments on no agenda.
I'm not hearing, seeing us hand raised now.
Okay, I apologize for the agenda item about the open meeting complaint. Greg was out of touch and I made the mistake of thinking that he might have overlooked something. He didn't.
It's okay.
We have,
We'll take it up on Monday.
we'll take it up on Monday.
But we did get an extension.
We got it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
That was what I,
I should have communicated that, so.
well, I should have assumed.
So it'll, yeah, town council will be here at the meeting on Monday for some other items, so she'll also
Okay,
help walk us through that as well.
great. There is no chairman's report. Is there anything to do with the agenda item, with the, oh God.
Action item.
Action item, yes. It became what it was. Right.
Nope, for me.
Be looking on what we're here for.
Okay. Got to bring my agenda, John. What's next?
You may work off of
That's
that.
why we have a vice chair.
It's a long list.
Okay. Right, got it. I knew that there were two. The first item on the agenda is, the stormwater management rules and regulations, which I assume we have all read and digested carefully. Are there?
Something like that.
To the best of our ability.
Chuck, do you want to walk us through roughly?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take 2 seconds. And so obviously you guys all know the bylaw passed, thanks to Brian's great reading of the action
Yes.
at town meeting. So we have the
Did my
new
best, Chuck, Dan.
stormwater bylaw. The intent here was to take the previous version of the bylaw to make it smaller, a little more concise, with less things that will need to be updated according to DEP and EPA's whim over the next several years. So that's why the revised bylaw is only 4 pages, whereas the previous one was, 27 or something along those lines. So what I hope we're here tonight to do is to approve the stormwater management rules and regulations that are now basically DPW rules and regulations. Anything, this was one of the questions at town meeting that I don't think I did a good job answering, but what I was trying to say is that all of the performance-driven requirements that were in the previous bylaw will now reside in the DPW rules and regulations. If, like, the reason that we made this change is because in these rules and regulations now, there was reference to erosion control plans, and DEP and EPA, for whatever reason, weren't on the same page as to what the requirements in the stormwater bylaw should be for erosion control plans. So now, instead of having to go to town meeting and update the bylaw for something so mundane, we will just update between yourselves and DPW. We will just update the DPW rules and regs, and we will check the box for EPA and DEP without going back to town meeting. So that is basically taking the 27-ish pages that were in the previous bylaw and making them a rules and regs that are compliant with EPA and DEP requirements. So that's what this is. If there are any specific questions, I will do my best to field them. The other thing I'll just say is this will not circumvent or otherwise replace planning board special permits, which also have stormwater requirements in them, so long as their requirements are at least as strict as these. And same with Concom, there's the wetland bylaw. We are not circumventing or otherwise replacing any requirements that Concom would have. It's just in the case that Concom is not as stringent as these regulations would prevail, but I'd say in practice, we can generally be rest assured that DP or planning board and Concom are at least as strict as these. But this is what we are required to do for our MS4 permit, which is something that DPW basically
Mhm.
oversees. So
Enforcement. Is that in your purview?
the idea is if you trigger the stormwater management rules and regulations and you don't have to go for a planning board permit, special permit or Concom, then we would grant you a stormwater management permit, and we would be the ones that enforce that permit. We will do the initial review, we will have our own fee structure and conditions, and I think there's even a requirement in here, 99% sure, for us to hold a public meeting, which would probably have to be on a select board agenda, because we don't have a DPW commissioner,
Mhm.
you know, public meeting.
So a question, you mentioned that these are much shorter. And I don't know how many pages are here. I assume that most of this information here deals with a lot of the administrative issues to integrate the DPW into the permit providing process, and the details associated with a lot of the civil engineering activities are not part of this, but they're part of the broader.
So the
Gotcha.
rewrite, essentially, the bylaw is
Yeah.
shorter because it's referring to DPW.
Right,
rules and
and that stuff is elsewhere
regulations.
and
The
not.
DPW rules and regulations are.
What
28
we're
pages.
discussing tonight is the regulations,
The
Yes.
bigger, the longer, the bigger document.
It's not short.
it's page 20, it goes to page 28 of 23.
Yes, it's long.
29 of 23, sorry, but that's with the markup in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, two small questions. Got the proof now. Yeah, we've already talked about this. Section 5 administration. Section C.
Yep, so I saw your comments and I marked up my version, so I assume it's okay. I'll just, they're kind of more.
It's just it's a typo.
Yeah, I agree with you. It should be consistent, not inconsistent, whatever that language was.
Right. You really want it to be consistent with the purpose and not inconsistent. with the
Exactly, yep.
purpose.
And then
Um,
I think that was the only kind of,
yeah, there's a missing F in if somewhere in the middle.
yeah, and I can, I'll do, I'll have Ruth go through one more time and look at the, the ABCs all are in right chronological order and.
Okay,
If
there's
alphabetical order, I think.
Yeah. So, I think we'll get there, but in general, I don't think that's on us.
in general, this seems to cover, there are various stages of permit that you have to have. And what kind of activity would trigger these regulations? The bylaw and then these regulations.
Right,
The
so
bylaw, yeah.
the
Regulations.
major concern is, there are, believe it or not, some gaps in town where there might not be a planning board special permit or Concom jurisdiction. So basically, there's no wetlands jurisdiction because they're not near wetlands, so they're inland somewhere. And then there's no planning board because it's just somebody with a single family lot that's gonna still have a single family lot. This will, the main triggers are if they disturb over an acre of land. So there may be a virgin lot somewhere in town where they go out and clear an acre of trees to, put in their one family or a single family home, or even if it's multifamily, but if for whatever reason doesn't trigger planning board. And then, those are the big ones. And then the other one would be if they're disturbing grade more than 2 feet. So, there's just happens to be an outcrop in the middle of the property, so they go in and blast it or maybe they just hammer it, so they don't
Mhm.
trigger a blasting permit or
Mhm.
planning board for that reason. Then, this would trigger that. And so, really the miss that was in the previous one was the erosion control plans. So there needs to be something, and, I think everybody would agree that, if somebody goes in and clears an acre of trees, they have to do something to contain that stormwater runoff to make sure it doesn't infiltrate their neighbor, downstream or something like that. And so this is a process to basically check that box.
Okay.
So those are the big ones that you would see, and there's really not that many left. I think that's why it hadn't really, until MS4 became a thing that we do every year, 15 years ago, like that didn't exist. And so it wasn't really.
Was
looked at.
1 acre the previous cutoff? It's 20,000 square feet now, so it's half an acre.
Right, so that's land disturbance, so it's, it used to be 1 acre, now we put it at
It's half an
20,000.
acre.
That's actually, we do have some discretion there, it has to be, according to the regs, it has to be 1 acre, but we just made it 20,000, because there are some instances where, somebody might demo their house and a garage and start over again, and that's really disturbing, it's not technically disturbing more than 1 acre, but they should have some erosion control, and,
Okay.
we should take a look at it.
Bring up some specific examples. One's by Rock Hill.
So
That's
I
probably
think they
grandfathered.
technically went to the planning board first.
Okay,
I don't think they got a special permit though, so that would be out. And then I don't know if they had any Concom jurisdiction there, so if not, then that would have, I'm fairly certain they just started more than 20,000 square feet, so that would trigger this.
I'm thinking of the place up,
Yeah, so there's one on Summer Street right now.
Yeah.
But I think that also, I think it's old, but I think that it also had a planning board review
Okay.
or it was before my time, or at least I wasn't aware of it.
That's what-
But that, they certainly cleared more than 20,000 square feet.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that would trigger it.
Okay.
Although you would think that they probably have some level of conservation commission
They do,
wetlands in there.
that roadway went through a wetland.
The access.
Okay.
So they have a Concom permit.
Right, so that
Okay.
should have a minimum of these erosion control standards that, would have needed to have been approved by Concom.
Okay, and I guess you don't know of anything that's not happened yet, that you,
Not yet, yeah, no, gotta know.
is there something the town should do to publicize the fact that just because you don't have to go to the planning board or the Concom, if you're going to tear up an acre of trees, you need to,
Yeah, we'll certainly make sure that Paul Lando, building inspector, is
Yes.
aware so that he's the one who talks the most.
right, okay,
Folks
fine.
who are coming in to ask questions, do I need a permit for this or that? So this will certainly be on his list.
Okay, fine, good, that's all good.
That's probably our best place to catch people.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're not gonna know until you see something going on.
Right, and so we'd usually get the phone call, but yeah, at that point, especially if they've cleared a lot of trees, hopefully now we'll be able to catch them on day one instead of, after the fact, a month later. And, have them actually respond and do something, but yeah, there's definitely,
Yeah, and we can also talk to Tiffany about putting
Okay,
information.
I'd say
out on the
most
street.
people check in with DPW, but until we pass these, I just say,
Yeah.
don't disturb over more than an acre, and, if you have Concom or planning board, then you need to go get a permit from them.
Yep. Great. In the future, it would be nice to have, final copy before we come to approve it. But
So these have kind of been
this has been
Progress for a while,
and then a rush and.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments?
So it'd be appropriate to ask for any public comments. I don't,
Are there any? Yes,
and we've got a couple of people on. I don't know if they had questions about this or not. Hearing none, I guess you're okay.
okay. Is there a motion?
there's a motion to approve the revised rules and regulations as written.
Second.
Further discussion? John,
Yes,
Ken says yes. Brian,
Yes.
Jeff says yes, and Kathy.
Yes,
Okay. The second item on the agenda is to review and approve. You can stay for this if you want, you're interested in this, but, okay.
just an issue question.
Review and approve non-essential water ban. Greg, could you just?
So the state has declared a critical water condition because of the drought that has been in place since about the end of August, really. Been a very, very dry fall. Obviously, we got a bit of rain last week and looks like hopefully some more this week. But one or two rainy days doesn't cure a drought. So the state highly recommends that all water systems institute a ban on outdoor watering. And that people be encouraged to conserve their indoor consumption as well, until we get more rainfall. We're doing okay with our supplies. The reservoir is holding its own pretty well.
Yeah, so we're at a level of 25 feet in the pond. Last year we had very rainy fall, we were at 28. But we had been as low as 25. Remember, there was technically a drought in 2022 as well. We were down at 25 in 2020. We were actually under 25. So like this, what I would say is this is the seasonal norm. Like we haven't really seen adverse conditions to the drought, but we should be cognizant of, kind of our overall environment.
Mhm.
So it'd be appropriate for you to vote to implement an outdoor watering ban. Obviously, this time of year, there's not a lot of outdoor watering going on, but nonetheless, it's appropriate to do so and to also encourage people to be mindful of their indoor water use as well.
Okay,
Is this, will it be a date certain, or we just wait for the state to
Well,
say it's done?
It'll be until rescinded.
Yeah, and then
So you'll vote to rescind
we're
at some
taking,
point.
we're taking the lead from the state on this one.
which we usually do.
They will be, you'll see it on the news, they have like their drought monitor and whatnot, so. They will update that monthly. I think during the drought, they actually meet more frequently until they can either upgrade or downgrade it.
Okay, do we have a move to implement an outdoor watering ban and to encourage citizens to limit their indoor water usage?
So moved. Second. Shower with a friend.
Kathy?
Actually, sorry, just a question. Last time we implemented a ban, we did, it was during the summer, and so we had to take into consideration the marinas and their business usage. Is that not an issue because it's November?
So yeah, we're not really defining it that strictly.
I mean, can we say, is it really residential water ban?
I mean,
Or-
the technical term from my point of view is actually non-essential use. So essential
Okay.
use, that has very specific meaning in the regulations, the non-essential. So like people using water from marinas would be essential basically to their business, their livelihood. Say agriculture or golf courses, any of that stuff can be deemed essential.
I will offer to modify my statement of the motion to say a ban on non-essential outdoor water use and encourage the limited use of indoor water.
So moved again. Again.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, yes.
Anne says yes.
Yes.
Brian says yes.
Yes.
Jeff says yes. Kathy?
Yep.
Said yes, I think.
Yes.
That I think is the end of our agenda.
It is. That's all we needed to do today.
Very good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Kathy?
Yes.
No, okay.
Back to your movie.
Brian?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
sounds good. Have a
Yeah.
happy Thanksgiving, everybody. If I
Yeah.
don't see you
Yeah.
beforehand.
Thanks, thank you, you too.
20 minutes. Bless.
Well done.
Record.